asked by the Mayor to lead this inquiry. I've said that I'll give it my time, but I've done over the last number of months to do that. I'm not getting remunerated for this. So I just want to be clear. I don't accept the challenge that I might not be independent, and I certainly don't accept the suggestion that I've somehow reached any conclusions. I've reached no conclusions. All I've done to date is meet with a number of people, business people, academics, and here I am meeting with you good people today. I've not formed any view. In fact, it will not be for me to actually form views. My role as independent chair is to conduct this inquiry in a way that the views that we're going to hear today are reflected in the recommendations. These are not my recommendations, not my report. I'm simply an independent chair, giving of my time to help not only the Mayor and the Mayor Combined Authority, but the communities of South Yorkshire.
Well, you know it's to start up with at the start,
These are my notes.
So you started with an opening statement saying the government does that one thing. This is why
I've offered the view that in the context of people, some people expressed the view. Let me be quite clear now. The term government being found wanting was a view expressed by people in certain business circles, in certain communities. It's not my view. I haven't offered any view on what I think government didn't do.
You chose not to make that it was local or national. The chap there just mentioned you chose not to say that.
When I think of government, one of the issues I'm going to come on to today is to talk about local and regional government and what role local and regional government can have in the running of infrastructure. That's a key part of it.
Yeah. Well, you've answered my questions. I mean, whether they agree with them or not, you've answered them, so I appreciate it.
I respect the fact that you may disagree. I absolutely respect that, but I'm not prepared to accept the challenge to my independence or to the fact that I've somehow formed a business. I've done my
One of the main things that people ask about the airport is the Ministry of Defence facility from 1915. Who sold it to Theo? Nobody's ever been able to answer that. I've asked questions with the local council or the government. We've got a situation now at Scampton, another airfield that's been closed. Who decides? Who gets?
It's a land registry.
Yeah,
and it's a bit chance to show you the documents.
But you can't get the government answer.
You can, it's government.
You know, so you're required to look at how we do get rid of these public assets. And there is a system in place at present that the Labour government introduced called Assets of Community Value. Doncaster Road Stadium. At least the stadiums owned by the council, if any of those, if the council decides to sell it, the supporters of Doncaster get the first cap. Whether they can buy it or not is another matter. Surely, a thing like the airport, we should have one of them years ago. And I will take responsibility because I was involved in community assets through the Football Supporters Federation. I never thought that somebody would do what we did to Doncaster Airport. So, possibly, the electorates have to have a responsibility. We didn't ensure that government, local government and our councillors make sure that airports like this are protected.
I'm very interested in the example you just given. Taking your example that you just given, what do you think we could have done differently?
I think we could put an asset of community value on it. That's a legal document that stops them just selling it. They have to offer it to whoever owns the community asset. It could have been the council, it could have been the South Yorkshire Mayor Authority, it could have even been the government, it could have been a trust fund set up by a local community to have that community asset. And then when it comes up, they want to shoot it, you can say, hang on, no. Failing that, long list, somebody give it, a private company, not only Nick's mentioned Teesside, somebody sold Peel, Teesside, they sold Liverpool, Teesside, airport to Peel. Why didn't somebody say, well, hang on a minute, why don't we keep them? These are vital assets. I know we throw semi-private, but surely we should have done something. And we haven't learned the lesson, because just down the road at Scampton, there's all sorts of big people wanting to buy it. And we couldn't be safe position there, the historical site wouldn't be lost.
That's very, very helpful.
But the problem with that is the...
I'm going to do some orders. I'm conscious of the gentleman at the back.
Yep.
Briefly.
Yeah.
Alan Grafton, retired business owner, Doncaster. Up to press, the main area that's been considered is South Yorkshire. I'd like to point out that as we look out these windows here, you're a very short distance and you're in North Lincolnshire and North Nottinghamshire, both of which I'm sure have found DSA very useful when it was operating. Yeah. Is there any connection between have you got access to people in those areas to help you make a decision on the outcome of it? Is that relevant?
That's a very, very interesting and I think it's a very well made point. Because one of the things that I'm very conscious of in this inquiry is that it doesn't become what I would call an inward-looking South Yorkshire inquiry.
Absolutely.
This inquiry is about looking at infrastructure in every part of the United Kingdom. And indeed, I'm hoping that whatever this inquiry reaches by way of conclusion, recommendation, action, whatever it may be, will be something that will be debated not only within South Yorkshire, but way beyond South Yorkshire, in London, in North Lincolnshire.
Can I just finally say then, in doing that, would you be considering the benefits that North Lincolnshire and North Nottinghamshire would have, as well as the benefits that we would have from that development?
I might suggest, is something that's of national economic value. It's not just value by reference to the area in which the infrastructure asset may be located or positioned.
Thank you.
It's something that's of national relevance. This inquiry is about instigating a national conversation.
Yeah, just following on from him, but just on that one, Bassett Law did actually commission a viability report. Bassett Law Council issued a very big viability report on the airport just a few years ago. But on the issue where the gentleman raised a problem with community assets, the problem is that regional airports do not come under government policy. And also the fact that a lot of these regional airports are owned by private people, but there's no government policy which dictates that should it cease to be an airport, it then goes up for tender, as in a franchise with chains. So there's nothing to prevent something which, for whatever reason, is not viable, then becomes whatever the owner wants to do with it.
Very, very, very well made point. Can I just continue to try and follow up on that and ask what would your thoughts be as to what we might look to do differently to try and arrest that situation?
The only way would be if they cease to be a public asset or an airport, then the government has the right to choose the next owner and they will be forced to sell. But currently, there's nothing in legislation which stops a private company like Peel doing whatever they want or saying that something has become unviable and therefore they can develop it how they want.
And would your thought process be that forcing to sell, if I can just use your language? Yeah,
that would be the only... Because regional airports generally do not come under government policy, that would be the only aspect that could become under government policy. So any private sector owner would be forced to sell the airport, but also relieves government of having to own regional airports themselves.
Is your thinking there that that would be something that should be structured in a statutory sense?
In a statutory sense, in a similar way that any asset, such as a train franchise, if that becomes unviable or the owner is not running it properly, then that franchise is taken from the private sector owner. that would be the sufficient power to be able to draw it from a company like Peel.
Similar to what we've got on the railways.
It's an,
What's your
no, I'm just going to make a point about the government getting involved, and that's every tier of government getting involved in owning assets.
Yeah.
If they decide to get involved in own assets, they have to buy that asset.
Yeah.
The airport, if they decided to make it a public asset, they would have to buy it. And if Peel aren't willing to sell it, then there have to be a compulsory purchase of it. Then they can then lease it 25 years, 50 years, the local authority can lease it. But at the present moment, because Peel own the airport, they're the only ones that can lease it back to us. I mean, the mistake was made at the beginning when the government sold Finley to a private investor. At the time, it may have been a sensible move, but they haven't looked far enough ahead.
Yeah. So things done in previous years can have consequences.
Well, you said you're forward-looking,
Yeah.
but I think it was Churchill that says, if you discard history, you'll make the same mistake again.
I think one of the problems with that was the council, this is probably not being public knowledge, but the council did attempt to purchase the airport from Peel, and because of various things, they weren't allowed to purchase it, and one was being... So one of the problems when the council went to purchase the airport from Peel is that they were not an experienced airport operator. So they went in and tried to buy the airport without having the credentials to do so.
Okay. Gentlemen, at the back, please.
Just expanding on the really good point about a legislative framework to sort of purchase airports or strategic assets back. I think it's a great point. And we probably should have learned from the experiences of Kent Airport, that should have been the catalyst for this rather than DSA being the catalyst for it. But if that was in legislative framework, then local and regional government would have the ability then to, instead of waiting for CPO, they could then get involved in that. So I think it'd be a really good because at the moment, you know, a CPO only works, as we found out, if you can prove that there's no further forward use for it. But there is, but it might be contained store, so there is a forward use for it, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think the other thing would probably have to be a few things mindful of this inquiry. Compulsory purchase is a tried and tested method, legal process, etc. So we have to respect whatever may be happening in other places on that. But I'm also interested in the wider statutory angle of, and one of the things I think we might want to explore in my third question, whenever we get to it, is where that sits in the context of what we mean by government, local authorities, mayoral combined authorities, central government is thinking about what roles might they have in the context of these assets. Next year,
yeah, I think we've got two councillors behind us, Stephen, James Cox, and they might expand on this, I'm sure they will. I think the planning permissions that were given around the site, because of these two councillors that we've got here, they put in that's a state in the airport. We have to employ a certain amount of people before planning was given to have another. Jane wants to expand on that. So it can be possible. And so my only concern is that when we start putting state control on things, I think there's a time when state should go in and then come back out again. I think if you start putting state control on things completely, then unfortunately organisation has proved in an awful lot of cases that it's not valuable to taxpayers' money. And this is your money. When you open your pay slips and you'll see that tax being paid out, that is your money that's going to be. And unfortunately, we see councils and combined authorities investing in things that they really should be investing in. I think they've invested £7 million in the leasing scheme, which is just gone. So that's all your taxes for the heavily investment for the next 100 years. So I think we have to be careful. So it sounds great to do it, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be done at some point, but to continually, every time government tends to interfere with the market, it tends to make a mess of it. And that's any government, anywhere. Now, if there's a time for it to dip in and then depart again, I would imagine Ben Archer at some point might sell that airport because the council has gone in, made a success of all the area around it, and then it becomes that.
It might actually, sorry to be questioning, your point's very well sure. Maybe for the benefit of the meeting, and we can use this as an illustration, what is it that Ben Houchin's doing that you believe?
Well, Ben Houchin,
I think that he's doing the rest of the country.
Well, the problem if you ask anybody, do you want more power locally? Do you want power from Westminster? Do you want it local? And everybody puts their hands up and says, yeah, we want that power here. And there's a lot of people that otherwise it wouldn't have happened. So obviously the majority did.
We didn't want,
Yeah.
because everything's going to Sheffield.
Now, this is what I'm trying to say, is the majority of people in South Yorkshire want a combined authority. They're going to have it all over. The evolution is happening everywhere. The problem is with that is that you give power to local people, to a local mayor, and then every time it goes right, it's their success. And every time it goes wrong, it's government. Now, so government's giving away all the money and all the power, but still getting all the blame. It's exactly the same thing that happens with the NHS. Gives you £168 billion, yet every time something goes wrong, it's always the government's fault. Well, it's NHS England's fault. Someone needs to take personal responsibility for it. Give me power, I'll take personal responsibility. I haven't got it. Give me a checkbook, I'll take responsibility for it. Unfortunately, what happens is they give them the money, they give them the power, and then when it goes wrong, they blame central government. What Ben Houchin did, I'm not saying it's going to be the number one success story of the North. It may not be. It may not be. But what he did was, he said, right, if you elect me, I'm going to buy the airport. Now, he bought that airport with what's called gain sharing. When you become a combined authority, the government said, right, you've got X amount of money over a 30-year period to do something with that, and that's economic growth and skills and all kinds of money. When that happened in Teesside, you basically got £15 million a year for 30 years, which was £450 million. His gain share for becoming a combined authority was £450 million. When he said, you elect me, I'm going to sit down with him, I'm going to get him in a room, he went over to Manchester, he got him in a room, and he came out and he bought that airport. Now, we've had Ben Houchin down here for 2 hours, and that's another question that will you be speaking to Ben Houchin about it, because I think we really should speak to him about it. It's truly independent, find out what the mayor's doing.
Ben would like to engage.
Yeah, I'm sure Ben would look
Very
for it.
happy to do that.
He'll lay it down here for 2 years. So he had £450 million. It's granted it's a smaller area. We got given £30 million for 30 years, so we got given £900 million. Now, you don't get that in one lump sum, but you can borrow against it. You can borrow huge sums against it, so you can do that. And so what Ben did, Ben said that I'm buying this airport, went to Manchester, sat down with Peel, bought the airport, and now it's in. The argument that Peel wants to sell, the argument that we never even tried. We never even really tried, and that is the problem with it. It would be state intervention, that's what I'm saying, and I've gone against what I've just said. I've said there's a time for it to go in, to sort it out, and it's so important to us. One of the main questions about this, and if you're going to do an inquiry about this, is that there was meant to be a £20 million loan to the airport.
Nobody
was in charge.
I think what I'm more interested in is, I don't want to necessarily make the work of us out again. This is not an inquiry about what happened at Doncaster Sheffield Airport. This is an inquiry about protecting infrastructure, and I'm just getting, and you've been very helpful. You've given us the example, and we'll come on to this further down the line, where in the government context of local, regional, national government, there are some models out there that I don't know whether they work. I'm not skilled enough to understand whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just interested in understanding how they operate and how they work. Gentleman at the back, please.
Thank you. Steve Cox, Ward Councillor for here, local government. We've been kept out of all discussions. You know, he's saying everything great, no political bias, nothing. If there's been no political bias in any of this event, why have we been kept out of everything? Why have we not had information from Oliver? I've emailed Oliver. The responses I've got back, I've had one response back. I've asked questions about, we're talking about, we don't make the same mistakes again. The £20 million. I've asked questions in full council about it. I've asked questions directly to Oliver about it. I was on the airport consultative committee with, same as this chap says, there were people from all over that were on that. I have had, and still sometimes had, conversations with people from Peel. So, because obviously, as local members, there's a great swathe of land that's still owned by Peel that needs to be maintained. That lights need to be turned on, the roads need to be cleaned, the bins need to be emptied. I contact Peel. I've had meetings with Ross, the mayor, regarding Peel and how she intends to work with them, and she said, no, can't work with them. I know that there's been conversations with Oliver regarding the planning applications, same as Nick alluded to. We put an equation in to make sure that what happened, any development that went on in that area in Gateway East, had to be aviation related. That was us. We did that in consultation with local plan. That was all that kept that going for that time. But still, nobody wanted to speak to us with local knowledge and local credentials. Why? I mean, is this going to be fed in? Because
you actually raised...
we have been closed out, and the only people that's closed us out is this authority and the mayoral combined authority. So why, firstly? And same as Nick said, I've spoken to Ben. Ben knows his stuff, speak to him.
Very helpful, thank you. And what I would say in response to that is I can't help you with any communication you're having with the mayor. That's way outside the remit of what I've been asked to do. As an independent chair of this inquiry, which is looking at infrastructure in the broadest sense, I'm not leading an inquiry into the rights and wrongs of Doncaster Sheffield Airport. What I am interested in what you've said is, and I think this is important, what role do local communities have, or could have, in protecting infrastructure of regional and national scale?
Can I come back on that, please? Because we saw the funding that came for FARS, for the road infrastructure that came from lots of different pots.
Yeah.
Part of it through 106 agreement that was from the development of Pembridge Park, which that went into that as well. So the infrastructure roads from the roundabout going towards the big yellow Y are the authorities. The rest of the roads are Peel's. So as far as the authority goes, they have the infrastructure there. We've been told that there was a mismatch with money there as well. Now, we also know that that nearly never happened either, because the local authority forgot to put the application in. So, you know, I mean, we need to look properly backwards, do a proper inquiry into how we got here and the mismanagement of the finances that have happened and support that's happened or not happened with the airport. Within the consultative committee, I have asked over and over and over again, what support has this airport had from the local authority or the regional authority? And I've been told, and it's documented over and over again, that they have had none. So when you're putting £300 million into an investment, and then you've got the local authority and the regional authority saying, no, you know, you carry on. You carry on.
I can see where you're coming from.
Quite right, too.
Yeah,
The thing is, you keep saying we can't look backwards, but in order to learn what's gone wrong, we have to look backwards to move forwards. Because until we understand exactly what has gone on with the mayoral authority and the local council, because they're the ones that do the day-to-day in Doncaster, they're the ones that do the day-to-day with the airport, they're the ones at the airport were knocking on the door going, can you help us please? And they were going, no, not interested. you don't meet our green agenda, sorry. So it only goes, any private company will only knock on a door so many times before they go, do you know what, if you're not interested, we're not interested. And that's where we got to, unfortunately. And whatever people want to bury their head in the sand and say, oh, we'll never work with them again, like Steve said, they own 1,500 acres of prime land just there, and they're not going away. So we have to look back in order to move forward, because at the minute, who knows what's going to happen with 1,500 acres of land? Because are we going to get an investment zone? Who knows? Because that's going to be a massively important thing. But if we don't look back, we can't work out what's going forward.
No, take your point very well made. I'm anxious that I need to acknowledge that I know I'd like to move on to our... Yeah, please. And now I've got a gentleman at the back who's also with us now.
Sure, it's just very short question. Where can I find the terms of reference to this inquiry?
Terms of reference document.
When the inquiry was announced, Mayor Coppard said that the terms of reference would be published shortly. And that was in February last year. Yeah. And now 11 months on,
I'll certainly
you're saying that the inquiry's not looking into why the airport closed. Well, nobody knows what this inquiry is about.
Yeah, you haven't got terms of reference.
But we now know,
We've searched them and we can't find them.
we now know that you are sharing evidence. You're not making recommendations.
The inquiry
isn't valid. So who is the inquiry by?
The inquiry is...
SYMCA.
Absolutely not. I am totally independent.
No, you are, but you're not the inquiry. You're just chairing evidence sessions.
Yeah. And I will be
Recommendations.
working with the Secretariat.
Yes, no, I understand. I've listened to
Yeah.
everything you've said, and you're right behind the solicitor. And, you know, you are in a very invidious position. I would like to be sat with you, to be honest, because...
Would you like to come and sit here?
No. What you're doing is you're taking evidence for an inquiry who has established terms of reference that don't exist. So this is a bit of a charade, really, and in my opinion, I think the whole thing should be scrapped and start again properly, and start again this year.
Absolutely respect everybody's right.
I mean, how can you say you're independent of the South Yorkshire Mayoral Authority when the notice of this meeting is given by the South Yorkshire Mayor on social media? That's how everybody's here, because that's how they know it. I don't know if you've published notice.
I read it on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
DSA Facebook, nothing to do with South Yorkshire Mayor.
And it was sold out with no seats.
Sold out.
There's a stack there.
Yeah.
Well, you know, where
Sold out.
Yeah. You know, the whole thing,
It's a charade, isn't it?
you know, as I say, I'm not surprised if you did deal with it. You know.
I mean, I'm just to be clear, I respect your right to express it.
I mean, I'm just giving you
No,
the points.
Absolutely respect for it.
I think this.
We will absolutely address the position of the terms of reference. I wouldn't describe this as a charade. If I thought it was a charade, I wouldn't sit in front
Well,
of
that's why I'm saying I would expect this to
I'm here because I think it's a genuine, legitimate issue to address
There is.
around infrastructure in the UK. Born out of what happened with our airport. I think that's a legitimate question. I think the Mayor is absolutely within his rights to ask that be looked at.
It's looking into his own position. Why? So I'm going to go out and ask evidence on why I failed Doncaster Sheffield Airport. That's basically what he's saying.
That might be your opinion, Nick. Absolutely respect for it. It's not something that I get involved in. Because if I get into that, two things happen. One, I'm not independent. So I'm going back to you challenged me 20 minutes ago that I wasn't independent, which I categorically don't accept. And secondly, it takes me into territory that has got nothing to do with this environment. Might have lots to do with the world that you're in as an MP, and that the Mayor is in the Mayor. It's not relevant to what I'm doing here, looking at infrastructure and how we protect infrastructure And what I'd like to do, if I can, is move on to the second issue that I'm interested in, and that is, are there other sectors or other places where perhaps we strike a better balance between commercial incentive, business and the public interest? So I'm interested in looking at, let's say, the water sector, the energy sector, other aspects of our infrastructure where we've got different types of regulation. Very cognizant of the fact that it's a bit of a patchwork of...
I think you've lost the audience with that.
No,
well,
the people who come here to discuss Doncaster Sheffield Airport, it's been done on a Wednesday morning and everything's gone back to work rather than on a meeting. It's in a small way, it was advertised 2 ways, and I'm afraid we're looking to talk about Doncaster. The problem that we've got at this moment is that everything seems to be Sheffield focused and no one's shouting up for Doncaster because the mayors are always absent.
It's been advertised and sold out.
Said that, yeah.
I mean, it's just...
So nobody's bothered to try and get tickets.
I mean, you're obviously a very... You're going against the grain here, because people are thinking stuff why we've lost our airport. That's what we're doing.
What you respect that for what all the knowledge is me. You know, if I'm told to advance his book from me, I don't expect to go and talk about Doncaster Rovers. You know, we were told we were coming here to look at what...
You know, when I said there may be some people in the room who would like to talk about what we might learn from other infrastructure sectors. People don't want to do that, absolutely respect that. I'm just interested in if people do want to do that and what we might learn from other
Buses, that needs a separate meeting.
I've done that one.
Oh, yeah, you're nobody here.
Let's go buses, we can't
Oh, sorry.
Okay, what's the next
I got told to shut up.
here from it, please?
How can you possibly come to effect if it's such a broad thing that you're looking at? Surely what you're looking at can only be possibly addressed by national government, not local government. Because you're like throwing a paper towel over a lake. I mean, it's not effective. How can you look at just such large overreaching elements of society in the UK and be authorised by South Yorkshire and combined? That's something national government does. You're referring to an inquiry into the size of the proposal inquiry, and yet you don't have the assets. You don't have the capability to even address it. So how can it possibly be effective? You just can't.
Very, very legitimate question. Very, very well put. And that may also...
Because you think you have the capability to actually address it,
yeah.
or are you just going to make
Let me answer that on this basis. I can say this on the basis of the work that's been done to date. I'm hoping an extension of that is manifested in our meeting here today. That there will be, I hope, contribution from that dialogue that can legitimately be placed in the public domain to instigate a discussion, not make decisions, because I'm not a decision maker, but can influence a discussion around how we might manage infrastructure assets or deal with infrastructure assets in a way that seeks to prevent a situation arising where there are community, economic, wider implications when that piece of infrastructure abruptly closes down and has consequences for a community or indeed the wider country.
The problem is, you've commissioned this. It's been commissioned by the South Yorkshire Mayor. He doesn't have any of those powers, and we wouldn't want him to have any of those powers on other infrastructure. So you've mentioned water.
Well, the power may sit in different places, as it does with our infrastructure assets at present. Some of it sits with government. Some of it sits, as we've heard today from Nick, with people like the Mayor of Teesside, and it may sit in other private entity boardrooms who manage and own infrastructure assets in the same way that Peter did at Doncaster Sheffield Airport. So the ownership and the model of infrastructure, and it's one of the challenges we've got, and it's one of the interesting things of this inquiry, is that there isn't a one-size-fits-all here. We've got infrastructure assets across different sectors regulated in one different way. And one of the things I think this Enquiry is interested in understanding is what might we do to fix some of that, to give us greater certainty. Thank you for your comment, further. I think you were first.
Thank you. I think when we're talking about other infrastructure across the country, there's been some absolutely appalling instances where local or regional government have got involved and run it badly, like for instance in Nottingham, the energy sector, where at the time where energy companies were making money, I think that particular authority actually nearly went bankrupt because they were running it that badly. So it's very well people having the powers, having the ability and the knowledge to do it is another matter. So I think that when it comes to utilities, better keep out of it.
Thank you for that.
As I mentioned before, we have most people here are actually talking about the airport. And to learn lessons of what not to do badly, you have to look at the airport. But also, there's a decision being made this week, I think, at SYMCA about trams in Sheffield. Now, 30 years ago, they completely popped it up. And now, the authority has decided they're applying for, I think it's 600 million or thereabouts, to renew all the trams in Sheffield. Just renew the trams they've got. No new extensions, no new, just renew the trams. So every 30 years, they're going to be renewing the trams at the cost of 600 million. Doncaster don't benefit from that. Doncaster are never going to benefit from that. From what I can gather, Doncaster ended up paying the... And I've asked the mayor this, and I've asked Ross Jones this as well. Ross Jones is the mayor, but I'm talking about Coppard as well. When Sheffield trams were set up, they were set up for the benefit of Sheffield, with the idea that in some time in the future, Doncaster might get a spur. And all the councils involved, the government at the time, and I don't know which government it was, said, OK, we'll help you pay for it, but you have to find so much. And I think it was 80 million. The whole thing cost 241 million. In today's money, that's £500 million. They sold it 2 years later for, I think it was 1 million? 1 million. Yeah. Because they couldn't make it pay. That was local authorities getting together thinking they knew best. Deregulation, but thinking they knew best. Now, it's happening again. My question on both counts, two things. When I asked Oliver Coppard about when this inquiry is going to report, he said by the end of 2023. And he actually told me in email that you were going to organise numerous meetings before the report was published in 2023. We aren't going to get the report. These apparently, the meetings today are these numerous meetings. And to me, it looks like he's been trying to hide these numerous meetings because he doesn't want people to ask the simple question, where did they crop up? Okay. Now, we've...
Can I combine that before I use the phrase? That's not a situation that I can identify with. I'm the independent chair of this inquiry.
Yeah, I'm not blaming you. I'm just making a point.
I think the assertion that the mayor has said something and done something different, I don't think is legitimate. Having this meeting today, we're having another meeting this afternoon. If there's a need for further meetings...
Is that a sellout as well?
No, it isn't.
Well, I'm not coming to these meetings.
Well,
I don't know
what particularly asking you. Yeah. I nearly didn't come this morning because I've been reading for over a fortnight.
What I'm saying is that if I
just don't understand why that would be.
If there's a
I'll
need
give you
for
one
further
example. My
meetings,
wife is coming, but she's gone down with this bug, so she's not here. That's actually. I've got 4 other mates that are.
sorry, I don't want to lose your extent, but I just want to make that clear that
Okay.
if there's a need for further meetings, I will certainly be wanting to have further meetings.
What I was trying to get at was, if this meeting had been set up, or this inquiry had been set up earlier, instead of February, it should have been set up, in my view, November, December, as soon as the airport was closed, or before it was closed, it should be set up. So that your recommendations could have been used by Doncaster City Council in their negotiations of appeal, so that they don't make the same mistakes again.
Okay. Can I
At the
leave
same-
with that issue because
At the same point, I'm going to follow it up. At the same time, Sheffield are putting together a business case for this 600 million quid to do the trams. They haven't got the benefit of the outcome of this inquiry. So are they going to make the same mistakes again?
Okay, let me deal with that particular issue because it does deal with some issues of importance. This inquiry is future facing. It's about protecting infrastructure. The one thing this inquiry must never do, and I will not allow it to happen, is to start treading into the territory of what's happening in other places, whether it's Doncaster Council, Peel, compulsory purchase proceedings that are live before court at present.
That don't make sense. Sorry.
Contradicting yourself.
That don't make sense.
What the inquiry can't do is start to meddle in the specifics of issues between a private entity, a local authority, and anybody else who's involved in that. This inquiry is independent. It's looking at infrastructure in the broadest sense.
National is, you're talking about national, and then you're saying that we can't have any conversation regarding anything else.
For a start, there's no CPO on the airport because Ross hasn't started it, she won't. So you're not prejudicing anything with that. She's very adamant that she's not doing the CPO. So, I mean, can I ask who you've spoken to? Who people are that you've spoken to
So far.
So far, because I would hope you'd speak to Peel as a huge business to find out what they think could have been done differently.
Just out of interest, is any Peel representatives here today?
Oliver's here. Are you going to step forward, Oliver, or are you not going to yet?
The role of the chair, yeah, I think it's time to let the chair.
So, just to be clear,
I don't think there's anybody from Peel.
I've openly shared with you
Let's see the work here.
The issue we've got is the history goes back a long way, doesn't it? Peel in South Yorkshire. We go back to the original airport, Sheffield City Airport, we managed to buy that, close it down conveniently, I think, to produce what they're good at, which is structures, buildings, warehouses, and stuff. The fact that we're not going to look back to then portray what might happen in the future is probably a very bad thing. So I think some more in-depth reviews of what has happened historically would probably be a good thing. And that might start with companies like Peel, private companies, and the way they operate, possibly.
If you're not going to look at the connection between South Yorkshire and Combined Authority, local and national government, if you're not going to look at the link between them, then how can you possibly look at how effective national assets are and local assets are? They're all linked.
Absolutely.
They're not, you can't divide them into boxes and go,
Absolutely.
it's just not possible.
Well,
What you're saying is what you're looking at cannot be effective. It's you just simply you don't have the capabilities to run it effectively. You don't have the assets. If this was properly run, it would need to be run by national government. Unfortunately, that's the reality of it. It can't be effective.
Can I just be careful here? No national government ever runs an independent inquiry. Those things are totally contradictory.
But they
Government cannot run an inquiry.
you don't have the assets to be able to run it.
The mayor has set this inquiry up. He's asked me to be the independent chair. What's the difference?
But
Government set up the COVID inquiry. Government's not running the COVID inquiry.
Thanks for the word.
because they have to have, you have to get the assets to be effective when you're running an inquiry. And the reason why the COVID inquiry is going to be, well, I don't know if it's going to be effective, but at least it's going to have the assets that it needs to look at what it needs to look at. They're paying for that to be available. But the problem is, if it's run by the South Yorkshire Railway Combined Authority, it can't. It simply will not have the assets to be able to do what it needs to do. As you said, you want to look at, you want to make recommendations on sort of a national level, but then you don't want to look at national government. You want to, it just doesn't work.
Well, that might lead us very neatly, and your point's absolutely very well made, if I may say so, and very, very valuable, which might lead us into the third strand that I'm interested in, and that is what should government do to help us with these situations?
Which government?
Let's take it all together. It can be central government, it can be
You
regional.
can't take them together. They're all completely separate. And they're all, that's the problem.
Well then, if you'd like to separate them, we can separate them. So
What's happening around here is what the main focus, what we're all upset about. You said you didn't want to make it political, but Labour's been in charge of this area in Sheffield and everything since God. Well, it's been in charge that long. I mean, you can't talk about. Look at what we had in Sheffield. That's one that we had somebody in charge of Sheffield, dumping the drugs and everything. I mean, we can't talk about Labour and whatever. It's just. Yeah, we've got a member of Parliament.
Yeah.
You know, there's no cohesion between them. You can't talk to each other.
Let me go back to ask who, the question asked about who we've spoken to, because, if we're speaking to lots of different stakeholders, I'd just be really interested to know who you are speaking to, because, as Steve alluded to, we've been here many years.
I've spoken, the inquiry has spoken to...
No one's spoken to us.
The inquiry is speaking to you today.
Well, no, it's speaking to the public today, isn't it? I'm here as...
We've come as public.
You've not specifically invited us as the elected members for this walk.
No invitation.
No invitation, no knowledge, not even an email to courtesy to say, actually, we're having this in your neck of the woods, would you like to come? And Oliver knows we've come because we came to his plus one. Similar situation, we saw it on Facebook.
Sold out, but we took it down.
Sold out.
It's sold out today, we haven't got tickets to be here.
That happens in
We've
Russia.
gone through the swathes of people.
Sold out, don't come.
We just got our courtesy letters in, which you could clearly do.
Just to ask that actually, because you said you
Can I just take a look, can I as chair take on board the criticism that you're making, absolutely respected, and I will respond and say that I will finally apologise if that is the sentiment that the Black Doctor is coming to. I'm focusing on the fact that you're here. I'm very grateful you're here. I said at the outset that all the time you're taking time to come here.
Absolutely, and I think that it's not, and it's not about the individual. It's not about the individual. It's about, you could have this in Bentley, and I would hope out of courtesy you would have spoken to the Bentley elected members if the airport was in their neck of the woods and they spent the past 10 years working with Peel. We've got relationships with Peel because we've spent years and years and years nurturing those because they're very important to the residents around here. As Steve alluded to, the food bins wouldn't get emptied if we didn't bring Peel. It comes down to that Peel own a lot of the infrastructure in Finningley Ward, and they're not going away. And because I don't know in terms of reference to inquiry, I don't know what we're looking at. But when it comes to the Wetney roads, they're an asset, they're owned by Peel. Peel's going to walk away from the roads around here. Who's going to maintain them? The authority aren't going to adopt them. But surely
Are you expecting me as chair of the inquiry to answer that?
No, I'm asking you what we're looking at, because what infrastructure are we looking at? That is public infrastructure as far as I'm concerned, because my residents are affected by the fact that Peel own many of the roads around here.
Yeah. Well, this inquiry is looking at infrastructure in its broadest sense as we could ever understand it, whether it's water and energy.
But not to look at, you're saying that we need to look at things on the national and feed into national things.
Well, I'd like to focus
but we're not
on
looking at, what are we actually looking at?
Yeah, the waterways around here.
This is what's being said.
Let's take my third question. Maybe you're in a helpful position to maybe guide us with this in terms of what your position might be. If we break down my third question, what do we think government could do to prevent situations like this happening? That's a legitimate question.
Can
Would you like to offer a view as a member of the present government as to what government can do to... And then I'd like to...
This is the entire problem. This is the entire problem with it, is that it's not central government that we're asking here, it's actually the combined authority. The power has been given...
Let me just pose you, if I can, to a point here. I'm interested in what government, and it might be that we take a view in this room that there's nothing government can do. That may be a completely legitimate position. I'm just asking the question.
But government's
not if we've got devolution, then there's nothing government can do. But we have, this is what I'm trying to say. In Teesside, we've got the same scenario, and we've made a success of it there, and in South Yorkshire, we've not made a success of it here. So it's a disaster. So you can just turn around and say, well, we're not going to devolve to where it's going to be a disaster. You can't do
I think
that.
we should have said, can we just give one? It seems to be two conversations.
You can't, I mean, they're elected. Oliver sat at the back, he's elected. His predecessor was elected.
Nick, can I just, I'm coming to regional and local government in the context of the third question shortly. I'm interested specifically at the minute, in not deviating from, and it may be that the answer is government can't do anything.
I think local government that have been elected, that have been given the powers from central government, should support an asset like Doncaster Sheffield Airport, which was supposedly the jewel in the crown of all our economic
So one view in the
and I don't believe that they supported that asset anywhere near like what they should. None whatsoever. And they keep on saying that they put the money in. Peel, don't get me wrong, I'm no friend of Peel's either. I think Peel have let us down, I think the combined authority let us down, I think Doncaster
So
Council
your perfectly legitimate point is central government has no role to play.
Central government, with regards to the economic growth of South Yorkshire, has been devolved to Oliver. That's what's been happened. Now, he'll say he's not got enough powers, and he'll say he's not got enough money, because every time I write to them, he says he's not got enough powers and not got enough money. That's what they always say. I know. Well, this is it. Over in Teesside, there's a success.
Is there any other view in the room that government should have a role to play in this type of situation? We've heard from Nick who doesn't think central.
Well, there's a difference between should and could.
Yeah.
I mean, central government don't have the powers in this situation. They've all been devolved. Could they take them back? Well, it depends. Do people want them to take back the powers? What can we do? He's got the money as well. And then what we've got is a combined authority mayor who starts playing political games about money when we know that there's a parallel mayor in the North East and a parallel mayor in Manchester who are doing exactly what Oliver said he couldn't do. Just this weekend we've had Ben Hoochin. He's brought forward that HS2 money. The HS2 money that Oliver sat at the back said, I cannot use it. We've been told we can't use it till 2027. I've asked Ben Hoochin the question, did he bring forward the funding from 2027? And he has. So the only thing that's going wrong here is we've got a mayor who's playing politics. He's waiting for his party.
I hear what you say. Are there other views in the room that maybe either the same or different? Sorry, I'll come. You first and then.
I mean, one of the main terms of reference is looking at where we're looking at assets. We've divulged all our assets over the last 40 years through privatisation. People still literally said privatisation is the way forward. Here's an example of privatisation. We gave a massive asset away. I still don't know how much people paid for it, but I bet they didn't pay what they're asking for it, eh? Not a lot, exactly. So we gave that away. And now we're blaming a poor man at the back because he's not doing anything about it 20 years later. You know, it's not his fault that we gave the asset away. And you're talking about money, £3 million a year we're getting over the next 30 years. Where's he going to spend?
30 million.
30 million, sorry, 30. Still not a lot between the old residents of South Yorkshire.
Yeah, but there's a difference with that gain share. Everybody talks about gain share. Sorry.
central government could
I want the central government states start saying that this is not a regional airport, it's a national airport, it's a national asset.
Yeah.
You know, so if we want connectivity, trains back in before we go into it, so we can run them. Another great privatisation, how many have been taken back into public ownership? LNER, of course, count the number of names they have because it doesn't work. But when you're talking about public finances, it's our money. Are we going to keep subsidising 550? We wanted 20 million last year. If you wanted 40 million this year, you would give them. If you wanted 60 million, because to keep on our Teesside, all I think about Teesside is they're losing money for the next 5-10 years. But in 20 years' time, they're going to make a profit.
That's a fair point. The gentleman at the back.
I just like, you asked for future, looking to the future and what central government could do. I would suggest that, similar to Ofsted being set up, an independent auditor look at whether devolution in any of the regions is working and to measure that particular devolved power against a set standard. And if they didn't make that standard, the powers return to central government. Subject, within a 5-year period or something, I'm just saying 5 years to pull out there, subject to a 5-year period where things can be improved and put to the electorate again as to whether they want that failed council to be reinstalled. It's just a suggestion out there, because I think the problem is the more devolved powers we get, or the more devolved areas we get, there's going to be more and more conflict between the devolved powers and central government, and within the devolved powers within the individual.
So there's something there about clear lines of demarcation around.
And also standards. Because we've heard now there are 3 councils that have been mentioned: Manchester, or devolved powers, Manchester, Teesside, and Doncaster. All 3 mayors are doing things differently. They've all got assets that they're treated differently. Why is that? Why are all 3 of them doing things differently? Why are they doing them at different speeds? I think it just, I'm sorry to mention it, but it comes down to political choice and the power that personal mayor and council have to push things through. That's what it comes down to. And I think having him checked every 20 years would be a good thing.
Thank you, that's very helpful. Gentlemen.
Firstly, I think talking about what the national government can do in this context, I think the gentleman from there had the most salient point of today about having a legislative framework to be able to scoop up failing infrastructure businesses or ones that want to exit, and being able to, without CPOs, being able to offer them to the market in a more structured and sort of cost-effective way, rather than the scrabbling around so everyone knows what's going to happen. And secondly, on a regional level, some transparency from our regional and local leaders, the reasons why they're making the decisions around whether to support infrastructure projects or not, whether a small cabal of environmentalists in Gordon Tottenham and their net zero fixation to stop and save our airport is important to the people of Doncaster and their jobs, rather than the people that just like to off into the wilderness around the way they live. So I think it's really important to understand the transparency around the decision-making process.
Yeah, there's, just going around the same conversation on standards. We've got things like in different areas we're treating things like the gain share very differently. In Teesside, for example, when they purchased the airport, it was across the entire region. Now, within Doncaster, as part of the South Yorkshire gain share, we're being asked to use 30 years of economic funding for the airport. And underpinning all capital spending and government spending is the Treasury book. and that has very clear standards about what can and can't be done. So we've got business cases that we've seen across the South Yorkshire area on infrastructure assets. So we go with Doncaster Sheffield Airport. We're now being told that the gross value added has gone from £1.5 billion to £2 billion over 30 years. So you're talking circa £66 million a year. Now, I don't know what funding they're proposing, but I've heard from potential consortiums who says that the funding that is required is going to be over £100 million. Now, if you're looking at a payback on gross value added of 66 million, the payback is very, very short. But then you look at the mass transit business case and the Rotherham mainline business case, which produces very little benefits to cost ratio. And yet these are herded through the South Yorkshire Mayor Combined Authority at very fast-track pace with very little benefits that are conforming to the Treasury Green Book and very, very slow payback. 35 years, I believe it is, for the tram, 30 years for the mainline, producing very, very little payback. And yet we're being told that the airport, £2 billion, will be paying back very, very quickly. So why is that not being fast-tracked? Why are the leaders in South Yorkshire and Doncaster not providing a standard setting of the Treasury business rules, business case rules, and then herding through whatever they want to put through?
Those are no doubt questions that can be directed through appropriate channels to...
Yeah, but these are about government have set the standard through the Treasury and through all government departments that everyone has to conform to. Oliver is a branch of the government. He's a devolved area of the government. So therefore, he has to follow exactly the same rules. So what we're thinking is, why is he pushing through business cases which look nowhere near as good as the airport, and yet they're being herded through because they are his pet projects? So it's a different standard.
You've taken me to a very, very good point.
But the government set the standards, and they should be applied throughout every combined authority. And these are huge sums, 596 million on the tram. The airport's probably going to cost very little, 100 million, or if he goes via the purchase route, maybe 200-300 million.
I'm conscious that I said it was that we were joined by Mark Chadwick, who's now with us. Conscious of time, so I'm now going to invite our mayor to questions, and then I'm going to spend a few minutes drawing things to a close. Alright, I'll finish by 12 o'clock. I don't know how much, so probably finishing about 10 as well, quarter to.
Thank you very much. We look at very differences of opinion. It's in the room. And I think the point of this inquiry is to kind of take those differences of opinion and synthesise those into a report which helps us to understand them. This is a future focus. This is about looking at what can we do next? How can we go into government in order to understand what it is that we want to do, what powers and control we want in South Yorkshire. I'm sorry,
No, I'm just going to correct you on one thing. You said engage with government. Didn't you say engage with central government or local government? What do you mean?
all levels of government. So the idea is absolutely that the inquiry looks at all levels of government and understand through the inquiry what it is that we're able to do, not do here in South Yorkshire, what government can do, what government can't do, and take a clear idea of that. That's the point of the inquiry, and that's why we're here. I appreciate you all coming down today. Really grateful, genuinely, for you turning out today. I realise all sorts of reasons why people can't come to these sorts of meetings. You can submit, so please do let friends, let family, colleagues, contact know. You can submit information online.
So, can I just ask, do you know what the terms of reference are? Martin didn't, and this gent here didn't either.
So it's an independent inquiry. All I'm doing is...
Do you know where the terms of reference are then?
I'm sure most of it.
There are terms of reference and they will be dealing with. So just to clear the issue, there are terms of reference of the work that I'm doing. I'm not really sure.
I know, but sorry.
Councillor, you have a different view to me.
Yeah.
It's clear you have
No, absolutely.
Look,
No.
you have a political opinion, that's absolutely fine.
I'm not very political. That's what I'm totally represent.
Oliver, nobody's being political. You started that.
It's absolutely fine. You're perfectly entitled to have a different view to me. It's absolutely fine.
Oliver, I'll always have to review to you, but I'm asking you.
You can submit information. I appreciate you want to come here to the meeting and put your view forward, and that's absolutely
It's sold out.
It's absolutely fine. Martin is going to take the information on board. You can submit information and we can be in contact on email if you want to. That's absolutely okay.
But I don't know what I'm submitting information about. That's my point. I'm obviously talking about the airport.
Councillor, we will come back to this. So thank you very much for coming forward.
Well, they should have shut
I think this is a really important piece of work. I think this is a really important piece of work because when Hill closed down our airport, we did not have the powers of control. It seems in the system, and you can take a different view, we do take a different view about where those powers should lie, but we did not clearly have the powers in the system in order to be able to stop them from doing the thing that we all wanted to stop them doing, and I think that's clear. So look, I would appreciate you being here, I appreciate you submitting your views, and please do share your views online with Martin and the Enquiry. I just want to say that you've submitted the email address and send me
where do you share it?
It's the website.
Where is it going to share?
So I think we'll share it via the Facebook groups, so everybody can. So the Save DSA Facebook groups.
Save DSA, Mark Chadwick.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark's done a really good.
Oh, right. Misinformation, Mark.
Wouldn't it be shared on the South Yorkshire Combined Authority website? Wouldn't that make more sense rather than share it? Official not social media.
So I'm going to draw it to a close there. Thank you very much for coming.
Why? You've only just started.
I really appreciate you sharing the views. So really
You've done 3 minutes, Oliver. You've done 3 minutes.
It's an independent inquiry, Councillor. It's an independent inquiry.
Can I just ask, are you speaking to the shadow cabinet?
Yes. I'm happy to speak to people afterwards. So thank you very much for coming, and that's the end of the meeting. Thank you very much, Martin. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to, sorry.
You might as well have not been there.
We will end the meeting in the spirit of respect and valuing all views in the room. So before I offer some concluding remarks, I'll take your comment and then I'll come to the gentleman divide. The one thing we must never do in South Yorkshire is lose the ability to respect the fact that we all might have different views. Isn't it great that we live in an environment where we can have an open and frank discussion about different opinions? How different it would be if we weren't able to do that. And the one thing that strikes me is, if I may say so, this huge passion in the room for South Yorkshire.
Airport. Big muff of Doncaster, really.
On the airport and everything else in South Yorkshire. So let's also not lose sight of the fact that there's a lot more unites everybody here than might ever divide us. And just think about that. And let's help each other. Let's support our mayor. Let's support our MPs. Let's help and support each other. Please.
Lots of support. I mean, I'm politically, I don't know where I'm going in the next 12 months because it's just such a mess. What I find disappointing in all of this, and that's been over the last 18 months, is a total lack of collaboration between our Doncaster MPs, the Mayoral Council. It all seems to be all independent decision making, all secret behind doors meetings, and then we come up with $500,000 for the trams, but we don't have any commitment to the airport, which is a bit disappointing, especially when there's some jobs that are lost to be recruited, when there is a massive contribution to the economy that's been made by an airport, as it's been seen by East Midlands, as it's been seen by Manchester. I don't think people help in the process. I think historically they've not done anybody any favours locally in South Yorkshire. People back to South Yorkshire Airport, City Airport. I think sadly closed that down after 10 years of tenure. And I think they're trying to do the same thing again at South. The local Airport, which is actually a South Yorkshire airport at the end of the day. It's there for the benefits of Rotherham, Barnsley, Sheffield, North Lincolnshire, Bassett, you name it. There's a lot of benefits to an airport that is strong. Sadly, I don't see the collaboration going on there to make it happen. And I think the timing is pretty dismal as well. I think this meeting should have happened 12 months ago, sad to say. That's probably not your fault. But,
well, I apologise for that because...
well, it's just that it's all a little bit behind the
and your point
times.
about collaboration, I think...
Collaboration needs to be improved.
I just want to make 2 points. This young man here had a great, well, I think it's a sensible idea.
He had many sensible points about it.
But the one thing is communication from South Yorkshire on their website, to have it ahead of time, not the day before for a meeting, and where we can find the terms of reference. It wasn't a political issue, as Oliver said. I've never
well, I'm going to deal with those 2 points very clearly and quickly now. First of all, if anybody wants to send anything to the inquiry after today's meeting, or if you would like further meetings, I'm happy to come to any meetings that you want to have. You can email the inquiry through infrastructure.inquiry@southyorkshire.ca.gov.uk. I will make sure that's communicated to you all, and I will also make sure that the terms of reference are made available to anybody who wants to see them.
Just put them on the web. Just get them to put them on the South Yorkshire website.
If those things have caused angst, if I could put it that way, as they clearly have today, then I, as chair of the inquiry, should rightly apologise for that, and I do that now unreservedly. I apologise for the fact that the email address wasn't made available and you didn't have the terms of reference. That's my responsibility. I apologise for it.
Can I, when are the recommendations going to be published? Because we've got...
I haven't reached a position on that yet, so I'm not going to give you a date because you're rightly
we've got 2 elections coming up this year, that's all. I'm obviously quite concerned about the recommendations, especially with our bias that's on this as well. The work of Oliver up in May the 6th, the general election.
The work of this inquiry is absolutely independent of any political processes. I will be producing, or the inquiry will be producing its outcomes when I, as independent chair, it's reached the point where it can do so. We're looking to do that as quickly as we possibly can.
Will it be a draft report, or will it be sent to the local MPs for comment?
It will be a recommendation, or recommendations, and it will be presented, as I said earlier in my discourse, to hopefully promote, in a constructive sense, a dialogue, not just within South Yorkshire, but outside South Yorkshire.
So it's a completed report presented to South Yorkshire Mayoral Authority for distribution. There's nobody being able to comment on it. It's just going to be finished before bingo, they are.
I think people will be entitled to comment on the report, and they can comment on it in absolutely any way they see fit. And if there's learnings to come out of further comments on the report, then I would encourage us to learn from that.
And just wanted to put the observation on that, that's okay. Just a second. You say it seems that there's no collaboration between them. I'm a fly in the ointment around here. The first Tory MP for 108 years. We've had a Labour council, we've had 3 Labour MPs, we've had all 14 Labour MPs, so goodness knows how many the odd leader there or something about popped in. It's been completely dominated by Labour. I'm the first one that's holding to the account, and every time I hold them to account, I'm playing party politics. No, I'm not. I'm doing my perishing job because we've been failed for too long. Okay, I'm sorry, I had to decide. And you've raised it there.
Can I just ask about the report? Sorry, can I just say one thing? You just said that because you're completely independent, the report will be published now. We're not going to get to the middle of March, come to PERD and be told that everything has to halt, and then we'll...
PERD.
Whatever you call it these days. Because everything's been done through South Yorkshire Mayoral Authority, so it gets to the point where they can't publish anything anymore.
As the independent chair of the inquiry, I will be the decision maker.
No, you won't. You can't.
No, that's binding law.
I will be the one who will make the judgment call as to when the inquiry will publish its findings. I'm giving you an indication that that will be done as quickly as is possible. What I can't give you in response to the next question, which is a legitimate one, is a particular date. As I sit here today...
No, I'm asking, will it be affected by Herder then?
Before an election, we can't do anything.
I'm working, I'm doing everything possible.
Do you understand what Herder is?
Absolutely do. That this report will be available in a timely and short period of time. Before the elections.
Before the mayor election,
Yes.
which is the immediate one.
Yes. Now, if, sorry, just to pick up on that, if in response to that you want to make that observation, that's fine. That's not what I agree with.
Yeah.
I've answered the question in good faith, and I've given you my best information. If the response...
Well, can I just put that, right? Oliver Coppard is the inquiry to publish no terms of reference. Notice that the two evidence sessions today were given by Mayor Oliver Coppard. The sessions are both limited to 90 minutes on a working day, which is inconvenient for many people. The inquiry today was refused to look at why the airport was closed. The inquiry today has shut down questions on the £20 million loan that would have kept the airport open. Oliver Coppard, Mayor gives the closing speech. Oliver Coppard then closed the meeting.
I've closed the meeting.
I know, you have to take over. But he thinks it's his meeting, and it's clear that the appearance of bias is all that matters. It's not whether there is bias, it's whether there is an appearance of bias. And so I'm afraid that doesn't look independent to me.
We've not shut
Especially now we know that this report is going to come out before Mr. Coppard's attempt to be re-elected on the 6th of May.
You've made your point. Just to make it quite clear, I'm not a solicitor. To assert that we closed down questions.
You did.
And I also say that if there's criticism of today's meeting, I apologise for that. If you'd like to organise a further meeting, of people who would like to gather with them, well, you see, please do it as I will be.
This inquiry could be really good, could be really useful. Nick would be a precedent for a proper inquiry into the closure of the airport, and there has been for a long time now.
And what's
happening?
happening?
The airport actually closed, right? And we want a statutory inquiry, which can only be ordered by government, and that inquiry will have the power to compel the production of witnesses and the adoption of documents. You don't have those powers. That's why government needs to set up the inquiry. I agree with him, and I agree with you that it would be better that way. Right? That's not down to you. Now, if Mayor Oliver Coppard wants to set up an inquiry, that's great. But let's have a proper inquiry rather than the political inquiry that he's going to use to piggyback on in his attempt
I'm not
to get re-elected.
satisfied with that. I'm not
Well, I think you're being used. I mean, I actually think you're an upstanding good man. I believe that.
We will close the meeting. I respect the fact that you may have a view on me, or
I have a lot of respect for you.
I would just like to finish by saying I respect everybody who's come today. Thank you hugely for your time. It's been very, very valuable. I hope you find it valuable. I look forward to perhaps having an opportunity to meet you again. Thank you very much indeed. And I also, if these things don't happen, whatever the is, if I could people from the reference group of the Mayoral Combined Authority, and I think the officers who've been here today, the people who've set the room up, who made coffee for us and drinks, and I thank Dan for making a note of the meeting, which is very, very helpful. And I thank you all again for coming. It's been very, very helpful. And
can I just make one point, because you've ignored me throughout that. I think the main point of what's happened is the government, between the government and the regional powers, is regional airports fall between a gap, because regional airports are not controlled by government, and under local authority powers, they're controlled by business, the business or economy area. So that's where you've got the gap. But what your inquiry doesn't have the power to do is in 2021, when I knew that the airport was closing because I've been told and given the evidence, and you don't have the teeth to inquire into that, the South Yorkshire Combined Authority Mayor called a meeting before Christmas 2021, and then in 2022, Ros Jones called an emergency board meeting early January 2022 with one item on the agenda. That's because the Combined Authority Mayor and the Doncaster Mayor knew then that Peel were going to close the airport over a contractual issue. And I've got the evidence for that. And you don't have the teeth to investigate that.
Makes a fantastic point.